we going?
Kantishna.
Kantishna.
We'll be having a nice little break, so don't worry about that too much, okay? Now, as far as wildlife goes, I am looking at the road. You guys are looking for wildlife. I've been doing this for 24 years of my life now. I can't believe it's been that long, but it has. I'm getting rather old, you know. So at this stage of the game, I'm absolutely conditioned to stop at the magic word when you see something out there, which is simply stop. All right, it's very simple. You gotta stop as loud as you can. Now, how the wildlife sightings works is, and this is kind of important, look at this bus like the face of a clock, all right? Front is 12 o'clock, back 6, 3, 9 o'clock. You just shout out stop, I'll stop. You don't barely rush at 3 o'clock, sheep on ridge at 9 o'clock. That's how we do it up next.
Denali National Park and Preserve is vast. Although most people associate the park with Denali Mountain, the park encompasses over 6 million acres and 90 plus miles of roads. To help preserve the nature, only the first 15 miles of road are open to public traffic, while the remainder is accessible only to residents, a limited number of hikers, and tour buses that run through the park's concession. We wanted to see all that we could, so we opted for the Kantishna Experience tour, a bus ride consisting of 13 hours that covers 90 miles of road from the beginning of the park to the very end. Denali's landscape is a mix of forests, tundra, glaciers, snow, and bare rock depending on what elevation you're at. It really makes the trip feel like a visit to Zootopia.
I came here for the first time 10 summers ago, really excited. That's about all I was. Unbeknownst to me, 5 months later, I would leave this place totally changed. Just from a park bus window, I saw my first wolf. Heading away from park bus doors, I had bear encounters, experienced true silence. What is it in the wilderness that shapes us as people? I encourage you to think about that as you find our ribbon of a road out there. Hope you all leave Denali changed for the better. You have a wonderful bus driver. Please listen if he shares any wisdom or advice. Be stewards of this place while we're here.
The tour was narrated by a certified interpretive guide, and then we had a national park interpretive ranger join us in the last 10 miles of the road. We had advance warning that wildlife would be seen, and that views of Denali could often be obscured by the weather. While riding, we learned more, however, like how the mountain is only visible on an average of 3 to 5 days a month. We kept our hopes high that this would be one of those days, but ultimately never did see more than the base of the mountain and the numerous foothills. The wildlife was abundant. Over the course of the trip, we saw 5 grizzly bears, numerous caribou, 2 mooses, a pack of wolves, a den of fox, a load of ground squirrels, and, well, numerous birds. The grizzly bears left the biggest impression on me, mainly for their size. I've seen a lot of bears in cages, but grizzlies in the wild were twice the size of anything I've ever seen caged. As we watched them from a few hundred yards away, I recalled the guide's stories of how a bear could cover 100 yards in just a few seconds. I began to ponder the value of the school bus windows and how they would protect me, and started calculating which one of my fellow travelers would have to become a shield just in case of an emergency. I knew I didn't have to run faster than the bear, just faster than the slowest member of our group. Our guide told the story of a tragedy the season before when a tourist decided to take some photos of a bear. There were 80 seconds between the first picture he took and the very last one, each photo closing the gap between himself and the grizzly. 80 yards, 60, 40, 20. The final shot on the camera showed direct eye contact with a growling and drooling grizzly bear. The story concluded with the habits of a grizzly after its successful hunt. It'll eat a bit, after which it'll drag its prize catch off, bury it, and then lay on it to mask the scent from other predators. After a few days, it comes back to its little makeshift refrigerator and has some leftovers. I wondered what this guy's last thoughts were, like, should I have listened to the rangers? Or, gee, I only wanted a selfie. At the end of the road, we landed in the town of Kantishna. Here we learned about the pioneer Franny Quigley and her life in the old gold town. It's kind of inspiring to know that somebody would move so far out from all the modern comforts, even those modern comforts of the 1800s, to this barren land. 100% of all of her energy was required every day just to hunt, fish, and grow all the meager food for her existence. With winters of -50 degrees, one would have to chop up to 15 cords of firewood just to survive in the winter months through their small little cabin in the fireplace. I saw a lot of similarities between Franny and my wife's eldest family members. Started to question whether they might have been related, but that's another story. The return part of the trip was much more relaxed as the driver continued to churn out stories of the park, its history, and tales of nature. Our last stop at the Isleson Visitor Center held only a partial view of the base of Denali, as the clouds still masked all the features above a few thousand feet. While disappointed that we did not win the view lottery, I took the time to stand in amazement at what lay before me. The smaller mountains that were visible, with their glaciered paths separating each, showed a promise of what lay behind. Each was majestic in its own right, but yet there's still so much more to be seen beyond them. It's just out of your view. But then again, that is a life lesson, isn't it? Sometimes you just have to accept the greatness that is not always in your view, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a hell of a view right in front of you. Well, enjoy what you're given, make that moment count, and really just be glad that you're not the moron with a camera sitting near the bear.